Hello and good morning, it's Phil Thatcher, and today I'm hiking on the Cumberland Trail. I'm heading to a waterfall called Polecat Falls, which I first learned about and was showed by Ron Durant. He has a YouTube channel you might want to check out. And I'm heading there today, once again, using my old Nikon D800, which I've had, I think, since 2016. Can't believe I've gotten into doing photography with this old camera, but I have, and I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it a lot. Today I brought two lenses. I have the 14 to 24 2.8 and the 24 to 70 2.8, and that's all. Didn't bring anything else. I think those focal lengths will be enough to photograph this waterfall, and I'm really in a hurry. This morning I got here at about 7:30, which is about 25 minutes after sunrise, but the forecast today called for 100% overcast, and it's not 100% overcast. It's sunny. There's not a cloud in the sky, so I'm trying to hurry. I think it's about a mile, might be longer. It's been a while since I've been here, maybe a year, but I'm trying to get to the waterfall before the light comes down into the valley and ruins my photos. So anyway, let's get there and see what I can get with the old D800 on Polecat Falls, which, by the way, it got its name because there used to be a tree that looked like a pole laying across it right down the middle. And the last time I was here, that tree was gone. And Ron Durant, who originally showed me this, he had a YouTube video that came out just the other day, and there's a new tree on it. So all new compositions at this waterfall that I've photographed multiple times now. So that'll be fun, and a whole new challenge. Let's go. This is not the waterfall I'm here to photograph, but it's a waterfall that's alongside the trail as you hike to the waterfall I'm actually going to, and usually it's barely flowing, but this morning it's flowing pretty good. So I got out the D800 and I put the 14 to 24 on it, very bulbous lens. Put that on, and I just quickly framed up a shot, 1/2 a second, f10 ISO 100 of this waterfall. And another one of the reasons I stopped is because the first time I came here with Ron and Ricky, this waterfall was flowing like this, and I didn't take a picture of it, and I've kind of regretted it ever since. On that day, when this waterfall was flowing really good, you couldn't cross the creek. You have to cross the creek to get to the good side of Polecat Falls, where the compositions are better. And the water was flowing so good that you couldn't cross the creek. So I'm kind of worried I won't be able to get that shot later. But in the meantime, let's look at this hole.
This is that first image, and it's the only image of the day that I used the 14 to 24. It's a 17 millimeter shot, 1/2 a second, f10 ISO 100. And honestly, I'm not all that thrilled with it. I'm just showing it to you because I did present it in the video. One thing I do like about it is there are these beech trees, and even though this is March the 7th, these beech tree leaves have stayed on all winter, and I love to see them in the forest. So maybe that's my favorite thing about this shot, and I really don't like this shot that much.
To get to Polecat Falls, you have to take this little side trail that splits off and goes up a really steep section of this amazing bank, and then it goes over and comes back down. And there's several fallen trees that I've had to go around. Way down there is Roaring Creek. And now I'm getting to a really thick section of fallen trees across the path that I'll have to go through to get to the waterfall. I've made it to the creek that you have to cross to get to the good compositions of this waterfall, and it is rocking and rolling. I don't think I'll be able to cross it. This is much like it was the first time I came here with Ron and Ricky, and we didn't cross that day either, but I think there's still some shots I can make. I may also try to cross it. I brought my big heavy tripod today. I hate carrying this thing because it's big and heavy, but it does help with creek crossings. I use it as a walking pole. I put the legs out as tall as they'll go and spread them out and use it to help me keep from falling. Also, take a look at the trail that I just hiked up, or down, I should say, to get here. Look how steep that is. Crazy. I made it out just a little bit, maybe a third of the way across, to where at least I can see the waterfall. And I can't see the new tree at all, so I don't know if it got washed away or what, but I do remember the first time I came here with Ron and Ricky and we couldn't get across, I couldn't see the original tree. So it may be there, just covered with water. And I put the 24-70 on, and I've made a few shots from here, no filters at all. I think at a quarter of a second, f11 is basically what's working here. The water's flowing so fast, you don't need a real long shutter speed to capture the motion.
So this shot's at 1/4 of a second, f13, ISO 100, and 31 millimeters with the 24-70 f2.8G. Really happy with the way it turned out. I like the moss on the rocks. I'm not happy with this branch sticking up right here. It wouldn't bother me except for it did wiggle around a little bit during the 1/4 of a second. I guess I could probably try to clone it out or use AI to remove it, but it would bother me because I would know that it's not right there. So I'm just going to leave it. And I like everything about this shot. And one of my favorite things is this unusual looking rock sticking up here in the foreground. I guess that's a rock. Maybe it's a branch, but it's probably a rock. And I was happy with this first shot.
I've come downstream a little bit further now. I've got my camera pretty low, and I'm concentrating on this little area right here, which is pretty nice. I've done some verticals and some horizontals, still using a 1/4 of a second. I tried some different shutter speeds, but a 1/4 is the best for this flow.
This vertical shot is 55 millimeters, again at 1/4 of a second, f11 ISO 100. And I like this little, you can see parts of the big waterfall way here in the background, but you can kind of see these fingers of waterfall here as well as here. Kind of a more up close detail shot of the falls that I kind of like.
I've come downstream a little further now and found myself a composition that I can shoot while seated, so that's nice. And I'm looking straight up the valley here at the waterfall and some of the areas that I was shooting up close a moment ago. Shooting now a 1/4 of a second, f13, no filters, ISO 100. According to the health app and my iPhone, I hiked 1.27 miles to get here. It feels like I hiked further. A lot of strenuous climbing and a lot of, the trail's not smooth, very rocky trail. So it takes a lot out of you to get here, but it's worth it. This is a pretty cool shot to make a photograph, and I needed the rest, so sitting down is nice. Love that old 24-70 lens.
This is much further down the creek, and it is 1/4 of a second, 34 millimeters, f13 ISO 100. I was able to get this one into my favorite aspect ratio, 16:9, and so many things I like about it. There's the branch from the previous shot and the rock sticking up that I liked. So that tells you how much further down the river I am. I love this log that kind of sticks out over here and all these places with the fingers. This was the one that I did an up close shot of with this one in the back. And anyway, I just like it. There's some motion blur in this branch as well, but pretty cool. Really happy to have made this shot. Here's another shot from that same location, except this one is 48 millimeters, still 1/4 of a second, f13 and ISO 100. And while this is closer up, I still can't decide if I like this one better or the other one. I think I might like this closer up shot, even though it cuts off some of this log that I'm really fond of. It shows you a lot of the other areas of the waterfall better than the further back shot. So I'm not sure if I like the wider shot better or this slightly closer up shot, but these two are definitely my favorite shots of the day of the waterfall.
The sun is starting to creep into the valley, so I'm going to head out. I think there's one more shot I can make along the hike on the way back. It just depends on whether or not the sun has ruined it yet. Let's get going. There's a part of Roaring Creek that splits, and the majority of it goes on the far side of this island here. And usually, unless it's really flowing good, there's no flow whatsoever on this side. But today, because the flow is really good, there is some flow on this side, and there's some amazing moss. There's moss on some rocks and just moss on the ground. And so I've come here, and this was the composition I was thinking of. I've wanted to make this shot for a long time, and this is the first time I've come by here when the water was flowing good here. And there's a fallen tree that's pretty cool in this composition, and some leaning in trees. And I tried shooting low, and I didn't like it. So now I have my camera as high as it'll go on this big tripod, which is pretty high. It's higher up than me, and I'm 6'3". And I'm using the 24-70, and for the first time today, I've put a polarizer on, and I'm polarizing it. I've actually tried polarizing it in the middle, and then polarizing it a whole lot, and polarizing it just a little. Well, the sunlight is just starting to creep into the scene here. As you can see, I'm well lit now, and there's a little bit of dappled light through the scene that I'm photographing, and so I'm continuing to make some shots just to kind of see if they're better with a little bit of light. I mean, I don't want this thing completely baked in sunlight, but with a little splotchy light coming through, because behind the camera here is a giant hill covered with trees. So any light that makes it down here is going to be, first of all, filtered, and second of all, just splotchy. And it might look really cool on these mossy boulders and rocks and whatever else is covered with moss out through there. I did turn the polarizer kind of more towards maximum for these shots with the dappled light, because the polarizer was kind of taking the depth out of the scene. But now the dappled light adds so much depth that the polarizer makes it look a little better, I think.
So I only edited the shot that I made very last with the dappled light coming through, and I really like the way it turned out. I just got lucky that that light showed up. I thought the light was going to ruin my shot, but instead it actually enhanced it. And this shot also has all around the top and the back, it has lots of the beech trees that still have the bright tan leaves on them that have been on all winter. So that's pretty cool. And this is 24 millimeters, 1/4 of a second, f11, ISO 100. And this does have the circular polarizer on. Not polarized all the way, but most of the way.
Well, that was a worthwhile little sidetrack. And, you know, I was kind of kicking myself for not stopping all the way and making shots of that. But I'm really glad that I stopped when I did, because while I was down there with my shot already composed, the light trickled in much, much better and ended up making, I don't know, I haven't really seen it yet, but I think the shot with the light on it was a little better than the one completely in shade. So kind of ended up just luckily, not through any skill, just luckily got there at exactly the right time for the light to be just right for that shot. So really happy with that. And of course, always thankful for Ron and Ricky, who first showed me this area. I told Ron, I commented on his video that he released just the other day. I said, I'll be forever in your debt for showing me this spot. And I'll put a link to Ron's video, because you didn't get to see the new tree across Polecat Falls, which may or may not still be there. And so you can take a look at his video and see what the falls look like when it's not flowing so much that you can't cross the creek. And I appreciate you joining me in this little hiking and landscape photography adventure with the old Nikon D800. If you liked it, take a second, reach down, hit thumbs up. That really helps me out. And if you want to see some more stuff like this and lots of wildlife stuff, and you'll see Nikon gear on my channel, and Canon gear on my channel, and Sony gear on my channel. I use all three of the major brands. I used to do Fuji a little bit, but I got out of Fuji. Nothing wrong with Fuji, I just ended up going another direction. But hopefully this has inspired you to get out and make some pictures yourself. Bye-bye.